Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wellness Crusaders. I'm Jessica Endicott, along with my lovely co-hosts Lori Gagan and Patty Reese. And today we are talking about the seriousness of mental illness. So before we begin, though, we will read our mission statement and our disclaimer. So Lori, you want to go first?
Sure. I'll just start off reading the disclaimers for all of our listeners out there. So the listener understands that the role of a health coach is not to prescribe or assess micro and macronutrient levels to provide healthcare, medical, or nutrition therapy services, or to diagnose, treat, or cure any disease, condition, or other physical or mental ailments of the human body. Rather, the coach is a mentor and a guide who has been trained in holistic health to help clients positive, sustainably lifestyle changes. The listener understands that we are not acting in the capacity of a doctor, a licensed dietitian, a nutritionist, a psychologist, or any other licensed or registered professional. And that the advice given by the coach is not meant to take the place of advice by these professionals. If the listener is under the care of healthcare professionals or currently using prescription medications, the client should discuss any dietary changes or potential dietary supplement use with his or her doctor and should never discontinue any prescription medications without first consulting his or her doctor.
Thank you. All right. And our mission is to educate and empower you to make informed choices for your health, the health of our children, our communities, and our earth. We are committed to fostering a world where the balance between human health and environmental stewardship is respected and nurtured. Join us in this holistic and transformative journey as we work together to create a healthier, more harmonious world for all. Please join our crusade.
I love our mission statement.
I do
I love
as well.
it too. And, it especially hit hard because it says, we're empowering you to make informed choices for your health, the health of our children, our communities, and our earth. And so with that, we want to talk today about the seriousness of mental illness and what's happening here in the state of Utah. So what is happening here in the state of Utah?
So, Jess, I'll kind of give a quick recap. Last week, we were all down at the state capitol with Aaron Siri. Aaron Siri is the lawyer for the Dell Big Tree show called High Wire. And we actually were talking about, they were talking about more vaccine mandates, which unfortunately Utah is still considering. But they gave me a minute to get up and talk about what I was seeing. And I actually just did a podcast with Jonathan Landsman. So I just want to go over pre-COVID normal emotional stats and post-COVID brain emotional stats. And I want to just talk about, and I'm sure both of you have seen that too in our teens, the lockdowns and the mask mandates that has caused some really serious mental illnesses for the teens. So pre-COVID, so we'll say 2019, 26% of our adult population was affected by psychiatric disorders. That was 60 plus million Americans. 40 plus million people have anxiety. And sadly, less than 80% of the people say that they have any types of improvements on big pharma drugs. Children that have had urinary levels tested for pesticides are twice as likely to have ADD, yet most conventional medicine docs do very little for chemical toxicity testing. 8 million, or 1 in 10 children, now take a stimulant medication like Ritalin, which is technically just amphetamine or speed. There has been a 42% increase in Wellbutrin. a 300% increase in ADHD medications just from 1993 to 2000. And the trend keeps increasing. And unfortunately, the age keeps getting younger. 18% increase in SSRIs, which is often the inability to switch negative and overwhelming thoughts. These big pharma drugs give you bad side effects, yet conventional medicine isn't talking about nutrition and protein. 1 in 10 Americans take an antidepressant. ADD, ADHD is now the label we give children from the ages 8 to 15. So now I want to fast forward post-COVID, normal brain emotional stats. And I know we had that talk on, the different types of alternative medicine drugs like ketamine and marijuana, kratom, some of those others that people are using just to put the fire out in the brain. But let's talk about those post-COVID normal brain emotions. 1 in 2 adults will be diagnosed with a mental disorder in their lifetime. And when I talked about this at a Capitol,
is that globally, Lori?
It's globally, yes.
Okay.
1 in 25 Americans, Patty, live with a serious emotional brain health illness. 1 in 5 children currently or at some point will be diagnosed with a mental illness. In 2006, antidepressants soared to over $1.5 billion. Mental health disorders now annually are over $2.5 trillion. And it is expected to increase to over $6 trillion by 2030. Most Americans are living in significant stress and uncertainty, which has increased mental health disorders. Street drugs are on the rise. Ketamine, marijuana, kratom, opiates, and alcohol.
Fentanyl.
We are now living with over 85,000 plus chemicals in the air we breathe, the food we eat, and the water we drink. Yet families still do not know about these chemicals. These were devastating stats when I started doing the research. Devastating.
Yep.
And yet
devastating. Yeah, they're devastating for us who are in this, and we
right. And then we still look at conventional medicine, and we even look at the rehab. So let's talk. Just somebody can talk about this.
What? Yeah, Patty.
No, I was just going to say. Did you say rehab?
Well, rehabs, recovery centers. They're still not talking about feeding the brain first.
No.
And amino acids, which we know as amino acid therapy coaches.
Right.
That if you don't feed the brain.
Well,
right. Yeah. Go, Patty. And
then go ahead, Patty.
So I just wanted to comment on, we'll get to the rehabs because, people are going to rehabs because they're using substances because they have anxiety, depression, ADD, blah, 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 all of them, right? All these mental health issues. But even those who don't go to rehab are just dealing, because we're talking about mental health today too, right? So they're not being taught about nutrition and mental health. Neither are their doctors. This is part of our systemic issue, Lori and Jessica. We all of us know that, right? Yeah. So part of the frustration is it's not in the school system. And if the parents don't know and the schools aren't teaching it, how do we find out? Yeah, we can do a show like this. And there's so much information about nutrition. I have a lot of books I'm going to hold up today. So we need to educate, right? We need to educate because the fact is nutrition and mental illness. Okay, I'll just start with this one and then I'll let you talk, Jess. This book was written in the late 60s. This is one of the pioneers in nutrition and mental illness, mental health, right? He was it's an orthomolecular approach to balancing body chemistry. So it used to be called orthomolecular medicine, which is basically nutrition for the brain, right? And this amazing doctor from, where is he from? New Jersey, Skillman, New Jersey, opened up a center called the Brain Bio Center. And he was looking at feeding people with schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, feeding the brain, which is science, right? We're like, well, why don't the doctors, most of the doctors know this? Because they're not being trained this way. And
Right.
he was reversing schizophrenia in almost 85% of his patients.
Wow.
That is enormous.
Wow.
So we have the answers, people. There are answers to mental health and anxiety, depression, and addiction. But you've got to open up to nutrition and feeding the brain. And unfortunately, as we know, we've been eating so much crap. And then we have COVID coming in, as you were talking about earlier, and people are so scared. You know, they never shut down the liquor stores during the lockdown. Girls,
Or
remember that?
McDonald's.
Or McDonald's. None of
Yeah.
that was shut down.
Right, right, agreed. And you know what, Pat, I want to make a comment to what the book you just showed. In the multiple books, I've been to your house before. I love your bookcase. So when did you say that book came out?
In the 60s.
Okay, so let's think about this. In 1960, or fast forward to 2024, the people
Okay, a little
who
later,
are,
sorry. In the 80s.
okay, so 1980 to where
He
we
was
are
doing
right now.
research in the 60s.
Yes, the people who are still writing books on feeding the brain first, they're still talking about the same thing.
Yeah,
Food,
definitely.
protein. I mean, they're talking about organics now, but if you look at big pharma, it's what's the next generation of anxiety medicines? You
Yeah.
know, Effexor, which is supposed to be this 3-in-1. They're constantly developing big pharma medications. It's profits over people. And yet, look at the percentage of people who still have mental health issues. It's not
Absolutely.
fixing it.
Nope.
But
No.
what you just said, he had over an 80% healing success rate on what? What people and doctors have been,
Yeah.
health practitioners have been talking about since the 1980s. And when was Julia Ross's book? Do you have that one, Patty?
Yeah,
Can
I
you
have
show
that one. Well, look, I just happen to
I
have it
love
right
her
here,
book.
Lori.
I love her book. And when did she write that book?
Well, I think the first copyright was, let me see here. Where's your copyright? 2002.
So think about that. 2002, still talking about feeding your brain first, still talking about proteins. And you know, conventional medicine doesn't talk about amino acids that your body doesn't make them. You know, there's 20 essential amino acids, 9 of them your body does not make, but 100% of those 20 amino acids are necessary for the brain. Nothing's changed with that since the beginning of time. Big pharma's changed because it's profits over people.
But
So
that's
Jess,
Right, exactly. Yeah. And I want to throw in too, what about dementia? What about Alzheimer's? Because I did lose my mom to this disease. And it was amazing because when I started feeding her nutritiously dense food, things shifted and it gave her a better quality of life. But, you know, by that point in time, like dementia and Alzheimer's starts in our young ages. It starts within our 30s. And we start to see those signs long before people are really ever diagnosed with it.
20 plus years,
Yeah,
you
and by
have the
the time
signs of
they're
it.
finally diagnosed, there's so much damage that's happened to the brain that it's almost impossible to turn that around. 24 million people are diagnosed with dementia, and that will double every year until 2040. So beyond like what is happening with the drug use and the schizophrenia and the OCD and the anxiety and the depression and the antipsychotic medications that are being prescribed, we also have to think about our future generations with the dementia and the Alzheimer's and the possibility of that. If people are not bringing that nutrition in and they're just continuously taking the pharmaceutical medications, what is that doing to the brain? And Lori, you know about this because you've seen the brain spectra images with Dr. Amen. You know, I have clients that I'm working with. One right now is in complete psychosis where there's, you know, she's seeing demons and hearing demons. And this is because of the pharmaceutical medications, the after effects of it. And it's horrible. People need this book and the supplement.
Hi now.
Like, look at Yeah, I
It's
know my
your camera's, it's backwards.
camera's not mirrored.
Yeah. So
Is
what is it? Supplements
Is mine mirrored?
no, yours looks fine, Patty.
There we go.
So that's a good book.
Hyla Cass. Yep. Another
Yep.
pioneer. So Hyla Cass is one of the pioneers, right? So is Julia Ross. So is
Right.
Charlie Gant. So is Carl Pfeiffer. You know.
Right.
Right. So you go into, if you're experiencing anxiety and stressors and your brain hasn't been fed for days, and you start to have those schizophrenic symptoms, right? You're seeing and hearing voices and completely out of control, and you go to the ER, what are they going to do? They're going to sedate you. And what are they going to sedate you with? They're not going to sedate you with medications that are going to feed the brain. And they're not going to put you on an IV right away. No, they're going to inject you with medication to get you calm, so then they can control you and take care of you. And one of those that they use is Haldol. Now, Haldol is what we were giving to my mom the last week of her life because it's an end of your life thing. It helps to relax people that much and sedate them that much. And I was talking to my hospice nurse yesterday about Haldol and the effects of it. And he said, Jessica, he goes, you want to be so careful with that drug. He's like, that is why we have it as an end of life drug, because
Wow.
some of it is irreparable. It's irreversible. And like this is truth. This is truth. What's really happening in the ERs within our country if somebody's having a psychotic episode, which a lot of people are having psychotic episodes right now.
Right. And I don't have to do it now, but before we get off the show today, I want to share a success story that I shared with Jessica earlier. So I can do it now, or I could do it later.
Yeah, why don't you just talk about it now?
Okay. So I have a colleague / friend who, interestingly enough, many years ago, we actually went to, he's from New York, Christina Veselak and I went back to meet with him to possibly open up a wellness, recovery center. We never did that, but he took us in New Jersey, past this guy's BioBrain place that is no longer going. So it was kind of cool that I just talked about that. Anyway, I'm not going to reveal any names, of course, but his son went to a treatment center, a really good treatment center called I'm not going to say that. A good treatment center. There are very few. This one actually works with the biochemistry. It was also $60,000, as we know, like these treatment centers that are even if they're not good ones, they're expensive. But this one actually helped him, and he did amazing. Was in there for 30 days, came out, was sober for about 2 weeks, and then went back into a relationship that was very toxic and went down into this dark place. Was having seizures. I mean, he was a wreck. Luckily, he did not get put on any medication because he didn't want that. So I decided, he asked me to coach him for a little bit, and I was like, okay. And when I first met him on Zoom, because he's in New York, he was almost comatose. It was, and I didn't know. I was like, you know what? It's a crapshoot. But, I was like guiding him to get him on. He wasn't drinking water, so I got him on water. I got him on coconut water, electrolytes. I got him on a shake. I got him on some aminos. And I just met with him yesterday. I hadn't seen him in 2 weeks, and it was like a whole different person.
Wow.
The father is like stunned. He's like, I can't believe like a couple shakes and some aminos could do this, and some omega-3s. And I'm like, yes. So I want to share that with our listeners, because you can be in that place. Does he have more work to do? Absolutely. This was like a baseline, but the baseline turned his brain around where he's hopeful again. He actually went back to his apartment and hung up 2 things. He couldn't even get off the couch. He was having seizures and completely out, brain offline. So it doesn't have to be that complicated, but we can slowly start feeding our brain back. And I'd say he's probably in his early 50s, and I wanted
young.
Yeah, it's young. But there is hope when we start feeding the brain back again. And he wasn't going to listen. He didn't do it on his own. I said, you got to take him back to your house. I said to the dad, and you've got to feed him his aminos, and you've got to feed him his protein shakes, and you got to have him drink coconut water and water. And he did. And it was like a night and day thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
That is. You know, I just want to, Jess, you mentioned Haldol.
Mm-hmm.
So just the side effects, just Googling that.
Oh, I've got it right here.
So yeah, so compared to a placebo, the drug increased risks of death,
I have to.
heart failure, obviously sudden death, pneumonia. But you don't see that labeled on amino acids, Patty.
No.
I mean,
If somebody's
why?
knocking on my door, I'll be right back. Is that okay, guys? Gals?
Okay. Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
loud.
Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. So that is some of the side effects. And so in that antipsychotic class, there's also ormazine, hermitol, prolixin, haldol, mellaril, and then they've also got Abilify,
Oh my gosh, that's a horrible drug.
Seroquel,
Another horrible drug.
Risperdal, Geodin, and Zeldox.
Wow.
So it says these drugs reduce psychotic symptoms by affecting dopamine activity in the brain. Side effects of typical antipsychotic medications include anxiety, agitation, irregular heartbeat, blurred vision, intense restlessness, akathisia, stiff movements, Parkinson's-like symptoms, painful muscle spasms, and over time, tardive dyskinesia can develop. And this side effects causes uncontrollable movement, such as grimacing, smacking, puckering, pursing of the lips, rapid eye blinking. It depletes. So these deplete CoQ10. Okay, CoQ10 is an essential enzyme for our brain and our heart.
It's one of the most powerful antioxidants for inside the cell.
And that gets depleted with statins too, right?
Yes.
Manganese, melatonin, vitamin B2. So these are essential.
It's, you know what? It's like playing Russian roulette with the brain. We were talking earlier. You know, if somebody had a heart attack and they went to the emergency room, they wouldn't allow a surgeon to roll them into the surgery center and say, quick, let's do a quadruple bypass. They would probably say, no, wait, what do you mean quadruple? Don't you want to do a CAT scan, an ultrasound, a scope? Don't you want to take a look at my heart? Yet modern day psychiatry and general practitioner doctors who really never learned about the brain, the compartments of the brain, will play Russian roulette. There are over 60 plus different types of anxiety medications, and that's not even including the generic ones. There are 7 different types of anxious thoughts. There's pure anxiety, there's pure depression, there's mixed anxiety and depression, there's over focus anxiety and depression, temporal lobe anxiety, depression, cyclic anxiety, depression, unfocused anxiety and depression, and they usually will overlap with ADD, ADHD symptoms. Why? Because they share the same compartments in the brain. So
you don't know that. They just lump it all into one big thing.
Yeah, they do. And that's how the Russian roulette starts. Or like Patty was saying earlier, somebody can't focus, they give them Adderall or Ritalin. And then what happens is it increases the dopamine, but it decreases, it's that seesaw relationship. Then their serotonin is lower. And then what happens is that hamster on a wheel thought, that negative thought that people can't gear shift off of, like, I want some alcohol, I want some alcohol, I want some marijuana. They can't stop thinking about it. And then they go back to their
brain
doctor.
Is calling for it, though.
Yeah. And then they go back to their doctor, and what do they want to do? Put them on another big pharma, SSRI. It doesn't fix it. It's proven decade after decade after decade. It's profit over people.
Yep.
Yeah. Kelly Brogan has a really good podcast about that too. And
Mm-hmm.
she talks about she's a psychiatrist, and she
Mm-hmm.
talks about the antipsychotic
Right.
medications.
Right.
I just looked up, I don't know who Ant is on our thing over there, but I looked up the Geraldine Burns story. Um, it says Ant on the side over there. I don't know if that's one of our callers or something. Can you girls see it?
I don't see it.
Oh, you don't see look up Geraldine Burns?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
did. It's in our chat on the
Oh,
replay.
is it?
Okay.
Oh, because I have our chat closed, so that's
Well,
why.
anyway, she was on Ativan while she was pregnant, and just another kind of horror story of what happened to her. I didn't read I'm not a speed reader, but I think it's a reminder that that she kept asking her doctor what was going on, and the doctor couldn't, she was getting more anxious and more, almost schizophrenic. So the point is, particularly when you're pregnant, but anytime if you're having these symptoms, you can ask for something else. And unfortunately, many of the doctors don't know that, but there are functional medicine, holistic doctors. There are people like us that are trained in amino acid therapy, because if the brain gets what it needs through nutrition, through aminos and through omega-3 and through food, you don't need an antidepressant. You don't need Ativan, benzo. You don't need these things. And and I was alcohol and weed were my drugs. I mean, I didn't know about Xanax. I probably would have liked that. But I didn't know about the aminos or other ways to do it, and this is the message we want to get out to all of you folks, that there is another way, and you can feel happy, joyous, free. Yes, you're still going to feel sad. Yes, you're going to have, bouts of grief and things come up and irritation. But in general, when your brain is balanced, you're balanced, your life is balanced, and you can make really good choices.
Right, right. Talking about just Dr. Raymond, let me just read one type of the 7 types of ADD. The symptoms, what brain spec shows, medications versus diet, and other interventions. So classic ADD, which is really what most kids and teenagers are diagnosed with. The symptoms are inattentive, distracted, disorganized, impulsive, and hyperactive. On a brain spec, and brain spec is, if you think of like an x-ray of the brain spec and functional MRI, they're very similar, except in a brain spec, they can do the testing. It gives them up to 6 hours to do it. So if some kid is fidgeting, they can put him back in and they can do the brain spec again, which really only takes like 15 minutes. But you're looking at the brain. So on a SPECT imaging, you will find low prefrontal cortex, executive brain, dopamine, low cerebellum, dopamine. And then medications from big pharma, profits over people, you get things like stimulants like Adderall and Ritalin. What conventional medicine doesn't talk about is that supplements like green tea, rhodiola, tyrosine, which we love, EPA fish oil, and diets high in protein and lower carbs and exercise. Again, it goes back decades.
Yep.
The protocol hasn't changed since people like Dr. Amen and Julia Ross and some of the other great, well-known doctors, exercise, yoga, meditation, high protein diets, feeding your brain first. And Jessica, I have to tell you, I love this. I catch myself doing the birthday candles all the time. If I'm just like walking, I find myself always, Jessica showed me a meditation for my granddaughter, but I like it for myself. So I talk to people about it, but they don't talk about it. We're living like we're burning out our parasympathetic. We're burning out the brakes in our car. Why? Because we're on overdrive right now. Everybody's overstimulated. Everybody's got a big task list. Doctors they're not asking root cause. What are you eating? What about the red dyes, the yellow dyes? What about the carbohydrates? What about the sugar? All of the things that they should be. Why? Because they've got 7 minutes roughly. They barely know the patient's name. And the next thing they do is they're walking out with a big pharma prescription, which over 80% of the people say they don't work. I don't understand for the life of me, even in the state of Utah, because I'm going to call them out. Why are we not talking about feeding the brain first, about protein foods? Why aren't there more doctors? I'm going to use the word forced. They go to big pharma, hey, we're going to ski up in Park City. So, and all they do is hear about prescriptions because the smaller people like us, we can't say, hey, here's a ski ticket to Park City Mountain. Come listen to our talk.
It's also part of the accreditation board too, right? They have certain rules and regulations that they have to adhere to. And if it goes outside of that accreditation company, then they can be shut down. So this is one of the reasons that a lot of the doctors who do start to practice some of the holistic stuff, they have to be very, very careful because they can get shut down. We have a friend that was telling us about this, right? Patty Ken was talking to us about this. You have to, it's a very, very fine line. And if you're a holistic doctor, you can't really cross over into the medical. You have to be very, very careful with these accreditation companies.
Yeah, it's the old system. It's the old antiquated system, and it is profits over people. But this is part of why we're doing this. We're doing this to educate people to say there are other choices, and you do not have to put your 8-year-old on Ritalin or Adderall or any of these stimulants. You can put him or her on tyrosine and feed them and see miraculous changes happen.
Yeah, take the red dye.
Right.
Take that out of their diet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if we look at it, so my sister-in-law was put into, she got bit by a spider, really didn't realize that it was an open wound when they were camping. And so she went to a river and it got infected and she ended up sepsis. Okay. So I called her mom, who is a nurse, and I said, you need to get her sodium ascorbate vitamin C. Now my choice is, Jessica knows this, is the pure C because it's sodium ascorbic and not ascorbic acid, which is an acid. Right. And she said that as a nurse, she could not take vitamin C into the hospital or she would lose her license. Now you've got these people like Dr. Paul Merrick, who was literally curing sepsis decades ago. And your body does not make vitamin C. But she couldn't take vitamin C because she would lose her nursing license. Think about what I'm saying.
Yes.
Crazy.
Was that just recently?
Yesterday. She's still there.
Okay. I'm wondering if this was in a dream or somebody shared this with me, that there is a law that has shifted in Utah about supplements being allowed into treatment centers and other places where they weren't before. Have either of you heard of that?
I have not. Where did you?
I don't know. I'm going to look into it. I don't think it was a dream. It's a good dream.
Are you talking about like the human rights law, Patty?
Yeah.
Okay, so with the human rights laws, everybody has equal rights. We have the right to refuse medication. We have the right to take our medication if we want and if we choose to. And so one of the treatment centers that I know of that's in Utah that has a holistic treatment program, the clients are not forced or educated on how to take the supplements, which would be amino acids. And they are allowed to just take them by themselves. Well, because of the human rights law too, you also have to give them a key to be able to get their prescription medication if you're trying to lock up the prescription medication. So they can get to it at any time and they can take it at any time. But it's just if they want to take it, they can take it. They don't have to take it, even though at some of these treatment centers, they should be encouraging it and saying, no, take this. It's going to help you. You're going to get better. But with the medications, the medications are pretty much forced upon us. When, I mean,
Okay.
yeah. So that's what the human rights one is about. Is that what you were thinking about, Patty?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you tell me that?
Mhm.
I was like, somebody told me that. That was you earlier today.
That was
I
me.
better take some more tyrosine.
Better take some. Yeah. So, but that's part of our human rights is to,
Okay.
but yet here we are mandating vaccines, and you have to take this vaccine, and there's no education behind it, right? There's,
I won't even go into I don't even like going to a doctor. I mean, honestly, it's like I'll do the research and I'm like, it's got to be an amino acid or there's got to be food to fix that. Or there's got to be something I'm eating that all of a sudden I've developed a food sensitivity that is down regulating my immune system.
Right.
And I mean, when's the last time conventional medicine, like anybody that they talk about the immune system or leaky gut?
Mm-hmm.
If you have holes poked in your digestive tract and you're eating crap food, you have crap thoughts. You just do. Because most people, I'm just saying, crap in, crap out.
Right on,
But
Lori.
when is the last time that any of you have heard that, hey, I went into this doctor and they started talking to me about food and what am I eating? And could the red dyes or could I have leaky gut, which means all the toxins are leaking in and out of my intestines, and 80% of the intestines or 80% of your immune system is in your intestines. And when the gut is broke, the brain is broke. That is the gut brain axis. That you rarely hear that spoken in conventional medicine. It is a disgrace where we are. Fast forward decades later with big pharma and profits over people.
right. Well, and even hydration is key too.
Yes.
So if we're not hydrated, our brain's not going to function. And the majority of people that go into a treatment center for addiction, they are severely dehydrated.
And what about fat?
Well,
I mean,
but the majority of people are drinking soda or coffee and teas and thinking that it's hydrating. But if there's any sugar or caffeine content in there, it's canceling out any of the water.
That's right.
So your brain's 66% fat. We talk about omega-3s and how powerful they are. Non-conventional medicine, you rarely hear that. And it probably goes back to if they talk supplements, there is no profit in supplements. And even in like the vitamin D world, you see blood results and they'll be like 30. And a doctor will say, oh yeah, you're not too far off. What the hell? You should be between 50 and 90. And that is per Dr. Amen because your brain is 67% fat.
Mm-hmm.
Yet they don't talk about it.
Yeah, they don't. I just remembered a story that one of our coach friends told me. She was working for a treatment center and she was giving the clients L-glutamine. They'd hired her to be a nutritionist. And so she was giving the clients L-glutamine and they were seeing significant improvement with their cravings, with their mind, with their blood sugar levels being managed. And the CEO calls her in the office and says, what are you doing? And she said, I'm helping people. He's like, I know. What are you doing? And she's like, well, I'm having good results. And he said, I know. He goes, I need you to stop it. And she says, WTF? What do you mean stop it? And he goes, how do you think we're making our profits around here? We're not making our profits by getting people better. And she was livid, she was using cuss words and she ended up turning in her resignation. But that is just one of the, that was huge when she shared that story with me.
Bad karma for that person in that treatment center.
So
there's millions and millions of people suffering. Why do you not want to get them better and make that so that they're not coming back?
Right.
There was a treatment center in Canada. They had an 86% success rate. But then COVID happened and they couldn't have group gatherings anymore. So they had to shut down their recovery center.
That's just crazy.
This isn't just in recovery centers though, too. Think about the senior living centers. Those menus are crap.
Oh my gosh. The hospital menus are crap.
Yeah. Hospital.
I mean, Park City
Yeah.
Hospital, I had a friend of mine up there in the hospital. She asked for gluten-free crackers. They had nothing gluten-free. Think about what I'm saying. So let me ask you both a question because I'm curious. In the state of Utah, how many recovery centers are you aware of that are teaching about protein foods and or teaching about amino acids? Because I know there's hundreds of, and there's big money. I mean, it's upwards now of $60,000 plus for 30 days of treatment.
Right.
So how many centers in Utah are talking about it, do you know? Because I don't know any.
Well, maybe 2.
That are using amino acids.
But I don't know. I haven't really, I mean, here's the thing. We did a training here. The Academy did a training here in 2017, and we had a couple treatment centers show up. We haven't followed up to see if those treatment centers are doing the amino acids and the 5-star pro recovery diet. They did show up though. So that was hopeful, but that was 2017. And one of the things that happens is that if the CEOs and the owners and if they're not on board, because it is a more of a commitment, you've got to spend a little bit more on your food. And you need to be helping people supplement, right?
Yeah, but you know what? Some of the amino acids, like one of my favorite supplements, and not in all cases, I like is the Now brand. They're one of the only family-owned businesses in this dietary supplement, and all their labels say non-GMO.
Right.
And you can go into like a Natural Grocers or a Whole Foods, and you can find the Now brand. And it's very cost effective for these people who are on a budget. I get it that organic food is a little bit more expensive. It is. But there are ways around that too, because you don't necessarily have to eat organic 100% of it, because if you're eating clean on the Clean 15,
yes,
that's a good step.
No question. But that's for individuals. We were talking also about treatment centers, right? So that's where they get fed that. Why aren't the treatment centers pulling in Now brand?
Exactly. Even if they're just feeding them the Clean 15.
Yeah. Yep.
It's crazy on there. I just didn't know how it was out there, which is probably the percentage of relapse in the state of Utah is very high.
Yeah.
And if somebody's spending $60,000 or $45,000 or $50,000, and then they have to go back in there a second time or a third time, they're not teaching them what they need to learn.
No, but we are.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I mean, all they have to do is hire
in September.
Yeah, all they have to do is hire one of you two, and $45,000 for a second treatment and a rehab would feed them for an entire year plus.
I get it.
Because we are not profits over people. We are about helping as many people as we can to learn about how to feed their brain. And there are a lot of free resources. I mean, Eating Protein Saves Lives, which is part of what Christine Veselak does. I know, Jessica, you're out there in the same space doing stuff. Patty, you're teaching all of, holistic coaching and food as well. That's way less than $45,000.
Yeah, Patty's teaching people how to prepare meals. She's teaching people how to get in the kitchen and cook. And she has her plate up class that is amazing and incredible. Yeah, because it's foreign to so many people how to prepare a meal. And Patty makes the best food. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, I love her turkey meatballs. Patty, when is your next class? And
in September.
Can people do it remotely?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's online.
So it's Zoom?
It's on Zoom. It's through Zoom. Okay. And then Jessica and I are also running a Love Your Brain class as well too, that will cover recovery in September.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then we're hoping to do in person. We want to give free talks in person because we want people to understand this and then be able to plug into the classes or the coaching, and save themselves from a treatment center.
Right. I would love to do something. A couple of us have been talking about out here in Wasatch Valley in Heber about doing an all-day workshop sometime in August, in our backyard, a regenerative farm. And, we'll put up the tents and stuff like that, and yoga and meditation, lymphatic massage. Yeah.
We're putting ourselves back out there now because we realize it's a crisis out there.
It is.
There is a solution. And, I know Jess can speak from that too, and probably you a little bit as well with your experience with family members and clients, but I know what anxiety is like. I know what depression is like. I know what even suicidal thoughts is like in addiction, and it is debilitating. But I also know that what I didn't know was nutrition and mental illness. I didn't know that there was a connection there. And then as I started feeding my brain, I was like, oh my gosh, what?
Wow. Well, hey, Leighton, can you put the phone number up? Why don't we open it up to questions while we spend the last 10 minutes? But let me ask you both a question, Patty and Jessica. What are your favorite books? Like your number one book that you would recommend to somebody who is struggling with addiction or alcohol? Mood Cure. Oh my God, it's my favorite book.
Yep,
I love it.
I would say that too, the Mood Cure for sure. And then also, I think that Supplement Your Prescription is a really great book, because if you're on a medication, you need to know what nutrients is being stripped from you because of that medication.
Right.
How to be able to replace those nutrients.
Dr. Fleming told me on one of our podcasts, it was a cardiovascular podcast, that Big Pharma has a statin. So statins, for people who don't know, it depletes CoQ10. Do you know that Big Pharma has sitting on a shelf a statin that contains CoQ10, but they won't roll it out in fear of losing their patents? Think about what I'm saying. Yes, he says it's sitting on the shelf.
Well, so Lori, explain more about CoQ10.
And the statins. So the statins are for the cholesterol.
That statins are for the cholesterol, which are very harmful because, again, they go back to not talking about, the foods. Listen, I did an extensive blood panel for Dr. Fleming when I was interviewing him on his book, and it's like my number one favorite book of his. It's called Stop Inflammation Now. And so he had me go out and do some labs. The one blood lab that I really never tested and I wasn't aware of was called lipoprotein a. And lipoprotein a is a genetic marker that you would inherit from one of your parents. That means that your cholesterol is sticky. And at that point in time, there's really not much you can do about it except remove the food. So I went on a plant-based diet. Mine was high. So that meant I inherited from either my mom or dad or both, because it doesn't necessarily tell you if you've got one or two. All I knew is that I had it. So my lipoprotein a measured, and they want you at 100, which Dr. Fleming does not see it at 100. It's really rare. I was 148. Never once in my life, even doing my blood labs, which some pretty high-end docs, did anybody ever have me test lipoprotein a. I was shocked. And so I went on a pure, and I know we have a call, I went on a plant-based diet, high protein, hemp seeds, flax seeds, things like that, keeping my protein up. I was on pea protein shakes. Within 1 month, I had lowered it 50% down to 123. I just had my blood work done yesterday, so I want to see where I am. But they don't talk about that. So you go back and you talk about the CoQ10. So, if I would have went to your average Joe Blow, doctor, he would have said, oh my God, you got to go on a statin. He wouldn't have said, let's check your lipoprotein a. Let's try a plant-based diet with high protein. And so CoQ10 is the most powerful antioxidant in a dietary supplement form Your body does not make it, and it's for the inside of your cell. So if you can feed your immune system, the inside of the cell, CoQ10 would be my first recommendation for that. And for those of you who are interested, before this, we'll have Leighton take this call. Jessica and Patty, all you have to do is send an email to info@TheWellnessCrusaders.com. They will have a complimentary coaching session with you, and you can hire them. They will teach you, train you, not only in meditation and yoga like Jess does, but they will teach you how to feed your brain, how to feed them with amino acids. We never give out milligram strains. We talk about amino acids, but their training will get more in depth with you on the milligrams strengths. And they will send you an amino acid therapy chart, and you're going to know what your brain is deficient in. So all you have to do is email Patty or Jessica at info@TheWellnessCrusaders.com. But I'll wrap up with that, and then we'll wrap up. But Leighton, why don't you bring the caller in?
Hey, you are live with the Wellness Crusaders. What is your name and what questions do you have for the ladies today?
Yeah, this is Al Richards with the Other Side Addiction podcast, and I just want to tell the ladies what a phenomenal job that they're doing, and with all the information that they're sharing about the amino acids and talking about the recovery centers. We need more of that in our community.
Nice.
Thank you, Al.
Al, where are you located at?
Salt Lake City, West Jordan.
And can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, so I'm the host and the founder of the Other Side of Addiction podcast. It's been going for over 3 years, 285 episodes. I'm also an international certified crisis recovery coach.
Okay. And where are your clients all over the U.S. or based in Utah?
So far, all my clients are based here in Utah.
Oh, that's fabulous. I mean, it's fabulous because I mean, although we want to help so many people, we know that it's easier, when we're here in Utah, just because there are times that we can meet with people. So, Al, how do they find you?
They can call me.
Okay.
They can email me at mralrichards@gmail.com. They can find me on YouTube under the Other Side of Addiction podcast, Facebook under Al Richards or the Other Side of Addiction.
So Al was trained by Susan and Dave Emergo, who had the wellness center in Canada that I was talking about. And they also have a brain first approach. So they were doing a lot with nutrition to help people who had some serious mental illnesses and serious addictions.
So Al, let me ask you a question. How bad do you feel that the addiction is in the state of Utah?
It's terrible. I mean, it's increased like crazy. I mean, there's so many people out there that are hurting and suffering, and all they want to do is numb their feelings. So something's got to change. Definitely something's got to change. And, Jeff and I have some ideas on some things, and like all you lovely ladies have a really good idea, too, on some changes that need to happen to make a difference.
Do you think that, do you find change hard because it's an uphill battle fighting against Big Pharma?
No, I don't think it will be hard. I mean, life is tough as it is. It's I think as long as we continue to roll that boulder up the hill and we start getting people behind us, it'll get easier and easier. And Big Pharma try to shut us down. They try to shut down like this man Robert Bell, and he's still cooking.
Sorry,
Al,
can you say that one more time?
Yeah, thanks, Leighton.
The boulder. We want the boulder thing again.
Okay, I'm having a hard time understanding you.
Al, can you say that last part you said a second ago? You kind of broke out in the middle of your sentence.
Oh, I was just going to say, as long as we continue to push that boulder up the hill and share the message and get people behind us, it'll get easier. And, I know Big Pharma's even shutting my good friend down, Rob Scott Bell. And,
Oh, I love Robert Scott Bell. He's a good friend of mine too.
yeah, Robert is phenomenal. And, the more people we get on board, and as long as we can keep sharing this information like what you guys are sharing,
Mm-hmm.
the ball of yarn's going to get larger.
Right on.
Right.
Right.
So, Al, what is your number one when you're working with clients? What's your number one thing you like to share with them?
That they're worth it.
Mm.
I love it.
Yep. Beautiful.
Al, will you say the quote, what you say about addiction and recovery? The one thing.
Yeah, the one that I say at the end of the show. Yeah, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, but recovery is giving up one thing for everything.
Mm.
I love that.
Beautiful.
Wow. Hey, Al, where in Utah are you located?
Jordan.
Jordan. Okay. All right. Well, I guess we'll have to all meet up at some point.
All right.
So thank you for calling in, and we will be sure to mention your site on our website. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al, for calling in. And
Everything you guys do, and I'm looking forward to having you guys on my show here in about another week.
Right
Oh,
on.
I almost forgot about that.
How dare you?
Good reminder. Thank you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you,
awesome.
Al.
Thank you for calling in, Al, and we'll make sure to check in next time on Thursday, 4 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we'll see you around.
Except for next Thursday, because it's 4th of July, and we will all be celebrating with family and friends.
Okay. I think this is a show, ladies.
Yes. And then we'll have to recap on what that date is. I thought it was in my calendar, but
July 19th.
Is it July?
Oh.
Okay, good.
Yep.
I'm back. Okay. All right. Well, how do we want to wrap this up?
I would just like to say there's hope, and the hope is feeding your brain, and like Al said, that you are worth it.
Yeah.
Agreed. And you know what?
Well,
We always say on our, when we're talking about our mission, that we are here for you. You're never, ever alone.
Right.
Send us an email. We would love to chat with you. We want everyone to join our crusade.
Mm-hmm.
I almost said croissant.
Oh, well.
That sounds good.
That's a little naughty for you.
Yeah, I can't even remember the last time I had a croissant.
Our tagline is empowering lives, inspiring wellness, and offering solutions.
Right.
Oh, do we have another call?
Yeah, I think Layton's got another call.
All right. Well.
Awesome. Yeah, bring him in, Layton.
Let's bring it in. Bring them on.
All right, you are live with the Wellness Crusaders. What is your name, and what question do you have for the ladies tonight?
Hi, my name is Dee, and here's my question. I'm 5 years off of...
Dee, can you speak up a little?
Sure. I am 5 years off of a benzodiazepine cold turkey, and I'm still having physical symptoms. I eat clean. I have avoided all medications, but don't drink caffeine. I have done everything I know to do right, but I am still under tremendous amounts of stress, and I am involved with BIT, which is the Benzo Information Coalition, and a lot of other people involved in that. And I want to know what I'm doing wrong and why I have not come to through the other side.
Mm.
Protein foods and amino acids.
So what I heard was B, that you've been off of benzos for 5 years and you're still having symptoms. And you've been doing a lot of things to try and get rid of those symptoms or manage them, but you haven't come through to the other side yet.
No, I have not. I cannot take any supplements. I react to everything.
Ah.
And that's where my body is. So there's nothing more I can do. I've tried to do some tiny milligrams at a time to try to get them in my body. I've had all my blood work done, all my medical tests. Everything comes back completely normal.
Mm.
From my cortisol, I've done fit tests for cortisol. I've done adrenaline tests. I've had brain imaging. I've had everything done. But physically, I vibrate from the inside out all day, every day, and it does not stop.
Well, because we haven't seen your blood work, but one of us, Jess or Patty, would love to speak with you more. Benzos are very damaging to the brain. They're probably, I want to say, one of the worst big pharma drugs that do damage to the brain. And I, as a doctoring and certified health coach with the brain, I've seen SPECT images on what benzos do. But without seeing any of your blood work or knowing how much protein you're eating or what your dietary lifestyle or your environmental lifestyle is like, it would be, it would be hard to say. But we would be interested in speaking with you.
Yes.
Do you want me to give you our email address?
I have Jess. I have her information, which is how I heard from you guys.
Okay.
I heard about you guys. So she's working with a mutual loved one. And I just wondered, because the people that I'm involved with, every one of them has healed. Every single one of them. I have not seen one person not heal. But
Red light therapy. Have you done that?
So let me, when you said that you vibrate, do you mean that you have like brain zaps in your brain? Is it your brain that's vibrating?
No, it's in the center of my chest where it's almost like my diaphragm is. And
Oh.
it's like inner restlessness.
Interesting.
Hey, Jess, do you want to show her the birthday candles? I mean, that just will help with the parasympathetic. Not that, it's a fix, but I think it's a good quick thing that she can do to bring her sympathetic down if that's it. And it's super easy.
Yeah. So B, with, can you still see us on the screen?
I can't do both at the same time. I'm sorry. I'm on my phone too, so.
Okay. So you just bring your hand up in front of you and imagine that you have candles on each of those fingers and then blow them out. So you're going to blow your thumb out and then blow your index finger out, blow your middle finger out, blow your ring finger out, and then blow your pinky finger out. And so this is something that you can do and practice to help calm your nervous system down. And in between that, of course, you're taking an inhale. So in between each of those breaths, you're taking an inhale. So practicing that on all of your fingers every day long is as soon as you're having one of those attacks, try practicing that.
Mm-hmm.
And what that's going to do, that's going to stimulate the vagus nerve to activate the parasympathetic nervous system so that you go into the rest and digest. Because that's one of the things too. As long as you are living in that fight or flight, which it sounds like you are, as long as you're living in the fight or flight, you're not going to heal. Your body's constantly like in this hyper aroused state. And so we've got to calm the nervous system down to allow the body to be able to heal. And that's one of the things that the benzos has done is created that hyper arousal state for you. So beyond like working with nutrition and protein, there's things that we can do somatically within the body as well to help release some of that tension and that anxiety and that overwhelm with the nervous system.
And I wanted to add too, thank you, Jess. I wanted to add red light therapy as well for UB, and you can look into that. I've heard a lot of success with that too, especially it sounds like it's an electrical nervous system situation. So
I love red light therapy,
yeah.
Patty. It's very calming.
Even like berberine is a nervine, right? Berberine is a nervine that's going to help with the nerve regeneration too.
Yeah, depending on where, her blood labs are. But, one of us would love to chat with you if you want to send us an email. We could, I think you said you were working with Jessica already?
She's working with my...
Oh, yes, somebody that you know. Okay.
So also one of the things, though, that's important to note, too, B, is that even though your labs are coming back normal, that's from a pathological perspective within the medical industry, and we look at it from a functional perspective. And so the ranges are actually different. There could be something going on.
I don't know if you've heard of Gary Christoph out of Boston, but he did all my functional blood tests through him, and that's what he does. Through Geraldine Burns. She was a coach. So, yeah, I've been dealing with this for a really long time. I just wondered if you guys knew even anything remotely new. None of us do. Geraldine's been doing it for 25 years, so I just wanted to ask.
We would love for you to send us in an email. I mean, I think looking at blood labs, B, is really helpful. A lot of times cofactors are responsible, and cofactors are things like magnesium and zinc, B6, B12, folate, which rarely conventional medicine really doesn't talk about the cofactors, and the cofactors are required to get the amino acids even past the blood-brain barrier. So we could definitely talk about that as well. And that book that you have, Jess.
Yeah, and in this book it says, calcium, folic acid, vitamin D, vitamin K, biotin, vitamin D. I said vitamin D already. 5-HTP, GABA, L-theanine, melatonin, valerian root.
Yeah. Okay.
So yes, send us an email. We would love to chat further with you about that. Thank you for calling in.
Yep, thanks for calling in. And before we let you go, can you tell us where you found us from?
From me.
Yeah, from Jess.
Oh, well, there we go. Simple question. Well, thank you for calling in. If you have any more questions, call in next time, except for tomorrow, next week, because it's 4th of July, so we won't be here. But call in next time we're on, and we'd love to answer any more questions for you. You have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. And Jess, did you say that book is by Hyla Cass?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's a good,
I guess,
really good book.
Yes, I'm going to look into that. And Patty, what was that other book that you held up earlier?
Nutrition and Mental Illness by Carl Pfeiffer.
And then the other one that you had in the hand, the one I said I wanted to take on vacation, you shot me down.
Oh, yes. This is called The Hacking of the American Mind.
Oh, I remember you showing that when we came over for lunch that time.
Yep. And that's
is it an easy read, or is it like a 2-point font?
It's a pretty simple read. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's great. It's by Dr. Lustig, who is a pediatrician, and his discovery of why children were having so many mental health issues with anxiety, depression, it was not genetics. He did all the genetic testing. It was lifestyle. It was diet. It was internet, the stuff that's hacking our mind, so it is about turning the Wi-Fi off. And that was the other thing I was going to say to our last caller is turn the Wi-Fi off, people, especially if you feel like you're getting zapped a lot. The Wi-Fi is affecting our nervous system too. So we need to turn it off.
Apple Watches too can affect
Apple Watches, keep them off. Our bodies aren't meant to have all this Wi-Fi hitting us all the time.
Safe sleep, phone cases as well.
Yeah.
But that's what we should talk about in one of our podcasts the next time as well, as like genetics. I mean, I've done my genetics. I have a low COMT. So I have genetic SNPs where I know that I don't process my dopamine, and I also don't process caffeine. It stays in me for a long time. We can talk about the importance of knowing that when you're someplace where B is and she can't find answers. And I want to say, we don't know if she can't find answers because we haven't seen her blood work, but we can talk about how genetics and just even a basic few genetics plays a role when you're still feeling crappy.
Oh, parasites too.
Oh, yes.
Right. Parasites and mold also.
Yeah, we should do that. But anyway, well, thank you both very much. I'm always honored to be on a call with you.
Same.
Have a wonderful rest of your week and enjoy your 4th of July.
Yeah,
Same.
thank you.
Same.
Love
Blessings
to
to you both. Thank you. Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Layton.
Bye.
Bye.